Now, I want to take a look at two very seemingly contradictory passages from the Bible because I want to kind of drive this point home. So if you're sick of it, I'm sorry. But we're going to drive this home. But the reason I want to look at these two passages is they look very contradictory and they bookend the same sermon. Jesus is preaching. He's actually just finished the Beatitudes. He's in the middle of the Sermon on the Mount. And in Matthew 5, he ends the sermon actually in Matthew 6. I don't know why they put a chapter break right there. Jesus didn't say it's time for an intermission. We just put the chapter break in there later on. But in Matthew chapter 5, verses 14 through 16, he says, "You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." Jesus says, let men see your good works. I mean, that's exactly what it says. These are Jesus' words. That they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Then all of a sudden, he's preaching. We're going to come back to what he spoke in the middle there. But he's preaching some more, and we come to Matthew 6, and we're nearing the end of the Sermon on the Mount. And in Matthew 6, 1 through 4, he says, "Take heed that you do not do your charitable deeds before men to be seen by them. Otherwise, you have no reward from your Father in heaven. Therefore, when you do a charitable deed, do not sound a trumpet before you as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory from men. Assuredly, I say to you, they have their reward. But when you do a charitable deed, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, that your charitable deed may be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will himself reward you openly." So Jesus preaches a sermon, and he says, let your light shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. When you do a charitable deed, do it in secret that no one will see what you're doing. What happened in the middle? How did he go from this point to that point? And what does he mean by that? Well, to find out, you have to read these passages not as standalone sections. Just like a little freebie here. Don't read the Bible as standalone sections. Like almost no good ever comes from that. Like it's meant to be taken as a whole. It's meant to be read in context. It's meant to be. So if we lift these two verses out, we've got a very, very apparent contradictions. But we don't want to read them just as standalones. We want to read the entire message Jesus was giving to the people. But it's too long for me to read the whole thing to you right now, or that would be all I do. These are both parts of the same sermon. The Gospels, this is located in the Gospel, just in case you're wondering, Matthew, first book of the New Testament, right? This is one of the problems we have with the way that we sort of configured the Bible, is we put the Gospels in the New Testament, but we do call them the Gospels. But we need to think of the Gospels as the Gospels and not as New Testament, because Jesus actually didn't live under New Covenant. He didn't live under grace when he walked the earth. Jesus actually lived under the law. You know why? Because he didn't die yet, right? So kind of the New Covenant does happen in the Gospels, but like at the very end, it's like, like there's one chapter left. And so it would make more sense to me to start the New Testament at Acts and have a 3-part Bible with the gospel sort of centered off, because we have to think about things correctly. All right? So when Jesus is speaking, the Gospels are what I would call transitional books. Jesus had to live under the law, but point people to grace. And it's what he did. And everything he does, he lives under the law and he points people to grace. He never violated the law, never broke the law. And every time that we see something where it is apparently like he broke the law, he's not breaking the law. He was breaking man's interpretation of the law. Like when he healed on the Sabbath and the Pharisees come out and go, "You worker of iniquity," or whatever, "you did this thing. You're terrible. How dare you heal people?" And right? And he's like, man, man wasn't made to serve the Sabbath. The Sabbath was made to be a blessing to man.